Hello legends. In this video, I'm going to show you how to get into vibe coding if you've only just been using n8n. By the end of this video, you'll fully understand how this n8n document processing agent can be completely reproduced using code so that it has a really nice interface like this, where I can drag in a new file, where the file is an invoice and it's got a bunch of information about the biller, the invoice date, the line items, as well as the total and tax amount. And if I just press process image, it's going to extract all the text from this image and deliver it back to us over here. And here we can see we have the biller information, invoice number, the date, all the line items on the invoice, and then the tax and total. Now for this example, I purposely didn't make this interface super colorful because the main thing I wanted to show you was that all I did to create that entire app, including the drag and drop, processing, and showing us the raw text at the end, was just put this simple prompt into AI, where I told the AI that I wanted a simple web page that will accept the file, it'll extract a text using JavaScript, and then it'll give me the output as flattened text. And then you can see the tool did absolutely everything for me. All I had to do was press accept, and then it created this web page. Now we're going to be working our way up to that app. And first we're going to be starting off with similarities between n8n workflows and then actually the raw code behind it. So in this case, this is the n8n workflow, and I go back into our app and I click on script, for example. This is the underlying code that represents all those different nodes. I'm then going to start warming up with very basic exercises on how you can actually vibe code. And to do that, I'm going to be going into Claude and just showing you how to prompt something up so that you can get some output. For example, over here, all I said was generate a 3D floating island on a HTML page. And then on the right-hand side, you see this is the actual output that Claude created for us based off that single prompt. And then after we have our fun in Claude, your next question to me is going to be, okay, Bart, that's super cool, but then how do I actually deploy something to the internet? How do I build some automation that I can use for my business? Or how can I build that floating island and actually just publish it online for everyone to use and see? So then at that stage, I'm going to show you the absolute easiest tool for you to use to get started with vibe coding. And that tool is called Replit. I'm going to have an affiliate link that you can click and actually create an account with. And that gives me some credits for my account. But I'll have an affiliate link that you can click and actually takes you directly to this page. All you need to do is create an account, and then you can start coding up your web apps. They've got agents that will code up web apps for you. And then you can deploy everything absolutely online so you can share it with the entire world. So the first thing I want to look at is the similarity between the n8n workflows and then how that converts to actual code. Now to do that, I'm going to be using this workflow over here, which was used in a video that I posted a few days ago. And the pipeline is basically you upload a file to Google Drive, the n8n agent then takes that file, extracts the text, and then adds it to Google Sheets. I'll link this 1 minute short in the description of this video, so if you do want to just get a highlight of what that video is about, you can watch this quickly. But to show you what this actually looks like under the hood as code, I'm just going to quickly delete this agent because we don't need it, so just temporarily delete it. And I'm going to download this JSON and just click download here. So this is what that JSON file looks like. Now this is not the code. All this is a simple description of what that workflow contains. And I'm not going to break down bit by bit what all of this is, but it's like a collection of predefined nodes. And it just says this node is plugged into this node, is plugged into this node, is plugged into this node, or this node. So then this chain of events, so from node to node to node, is literally represented by these like descriptors here. So that's one chain, that's another chain, then the next chain is below it, and so on and so forth. But what we want to do is actually look at what that code is. So not the JSON, that's just a description as what we've discussed. We want to look at what that code would look like as JavaScript, for example. And JavaScript is one of the languages of code. It's like you're speaking English or Polish. You're communicating in both languages, but you're communicating using a different language. So I'm just going to drag that file onto my canvas and let's prompt up. This is an n8n JSON workflow. Can you please convert this to a JavaScript code? So actually Claude will be able to understand the JSON, and it's smart enough to know all the different API calls and all the different logic for the backend, what it's going to require to actually build that out. So yeah, it'll be able to interpret that JSON and then convert it into a code. And what we see on the right-hand side is literally Claude taking that file and then converting it into a JavaScript. And again, that's just the language of code so that we could essentially take this and then actually use it as a file processing tool. Now, as we can see, firstly, if you don't know how to code, this is so confusing. You don't know what's what goes where. You have all these little characters, which it's so easy to kind of get these wrong if you are coding. So this is really kind of intimidating, and something like this is a lot easier for someone that's newer to developing and automation and using AI automation in their workflows. Mainly because you have these pre-built nodes. It's super easy to see, okay, this is a Google Drive node. All right, and I want to do this certain operation. So if I click this open, you can see it's very easy for me to just change the operation of this API call, because in the backend is what we see now. This is all just code. This is all just API calls. So I can change and I can say, all right, instead of looking at a file, I want to look at a folder, or I want to look at a shared drive, or make a custom API call. And then I can actually just manipulate the operations super easily and super visually. I actually still prefer to use n8n sometimes, just because of how easy it is to visually see what's going on, especially when you're making like different flows like this, when you want to integrate different tools, when you want to do loops and complex logic. If you just leave it all up to AI and you don't know what you're doing, you just lose control of the actual code. And that's what we see over here. So now to try and explain some of what's happening in this code, we're actually importing a bunch of different libraries of stuff that we'll need to actually run this code. So imagine you're in the kitchen and I ask you, hey, can you make me a smoothie? Well, you're probably going to have to buy a blender. You probably have to get some knives so you can chop up the fruit. You might need to get a bowl so you can put everything inside and mix it up. So these are just like different appliances for your kitchen when you want to cook a recipe. And then this actual code itself is the recipe that you want to cook. Now, it does get pretty complicated. If I scroll down here, this is like an API call for Google. This is an API call going across to OpenAI. And this is most likely for one of the reasoning steps over here, so information extractor. So over here, we have watch for new files in the unprocessed folder. Scrolling down, then we have the main processing function, which is looking at this is the splitter, so determine the file type and extract the text. So we've just finished this step. Then we have determine the file type and extract the text. We have PNG for the top and PDF for the bottom. So we have that splitter over here. And then over here, we have extract the structured data using AI. And then over here, we have log to Google Sheets and then move to the next folder. So those three steps were extract the information using OpenAI. Then we have add the information to Google Sheet. And then we had the final step, which was just move the files around to the different folder. But if we keep going down, now we see that there's another function over here, which is used to extract images from PNG. So this is the OCR step, which is this top right over here. This is the OCR step. And scrolling down a little bit more, we have the llama parse function as well, which is this bit over here. So what we've just looked at is actually the code initially just describes the overall route from here. It doesn't describe anything in the middle. It uses a template for this, and then it actually finishes the flow. So that was that first section we looked at. But then as we scroll down, then we had a standalone function for this, and then a standalone function for this. So already this is probably a little bit confusing, like why wouldn't everything just be in order as it is in n8n? And that just comes down to best practices when you're coding. So over here is actually where we have the prompt for that OpenAI extraction. And once again, this is now below those two functions. So looking at this, it does get pretty complicated. And if you don't know how to code, of course, it's easier to use n8n. But hopefully this opens up your eyes to actually see, okay, there is a similarity between using n8n and actually writing the raw code. They are one and the same, just represented in different ways. So now the next thing I want to look at is just explain to you the basic concepts of how to do vibe coding. And we're going to be using Claude for this. Okay, so in this section, I'm going to show you how to use Claude to do some basic vibe coding. Now I just want to make a quick note about using something like Claude for vibe coding versus actually using this Replit tool for vibe coding. So the Claude interface is limited just to the browser. And within the browser environment, so within your actual web page, when you're running code, there's actually a bunch of limitations to what kind of code you can run and what kind of apps and functions you can build. So within Claude, we're going to be a lot more limited to our use cases of what we can do. But as beginners, we really just want to figure out how to prompt something, how to get some result, and then how to reprompt it to change our result. Whereas in something like Replit, it's a bit more technical, and this is what the next natural step is for you after you use Claude. When you want to actually start building out apps that can do pretty complicated functions, and maybe you want to code up in different languages, and whatever you want to do, you'll be able to do it in something like Replit, because the backend for this is able to hold up all the different codes, languages, and processes that you would need to run. So let's start with a pretty basic prompt. I want to create a chess game where I can verse the computer. I want to design to be old-timey black and white, and I want a button so I can start a new game. Let's hit enter, and what happens now is that Claude actually splits the screen into a left side and a right side. On the left side, this is actually where it's thinking right now, but it's going to give us a breakdown after it finishes the app of the features and how to use it. And on the right side, what we see now is just the canvas where all the code is being generated for us. But as soon as it's finished being generated, we actually see in this case, the chess game. So we see the final product as well. Now we're pretty limited to only creating HTML pages over here. HTML page is what websites are pretty much built on. Okay, awesome. So it looks like Claude finished coding up the web app. Now, just to explain the different sections of what we see on a screen, left-hand side, we have the explanation of the app. So we have the features over here. Play as white against the computer opponent. Click to select pieces. The green highlights valid moves. Red for captures. So this explains pretty much all the features. We have all the UI elements, the user interface, the UX, the user experience elements. So the coloring, the shapes, all the different styling that it used. And then we have the explanation of how to play the game over here. So as a beginner, when you're coding things up, it's super easy to actually interact with your code. If I just drag this across, we should be able to see more. Awesome. Now, on this right-hand side, I've got this little switch toggle over here. The eye indicates, hey, view the code that you've created. And the little code icon here, it just means view the backend code. So this is a HTML page. And typically, if you want to be able to vibe code and view what you're creating in Claude, you will be creating HTML pages. But Claude is also capable of just creating the raw code for you that you can then copy and paste into a different code execution tool. But for us over here, we're not really going to be too interested in what's happening in the backend. We just want to interface with the front end. So I'm just going to go and try and move my piece. I'm going to select this. Okay, awesome. So I see what I can do. And let's see, the computer's moving as well. If I click this piece again, okay, yep, that's the actual rule. I can only move forward once after I move out of this initial line. If I click this, I can move out. Okay, awesome. So now we actually are versing the computer. If I click new game, it resets the game. So from here, what you would do is you can come back and re-prompt any additional rules or changes to the design that you would like. And in my case, I'm just going to say, hey, can you update the game to also include a difficulty setting where I can select between easy, medium, and hard opponents. Let's click run. And now Claude is going to go back into the code and it's going to be reviewing the code and actually adjusting it, rewriting it, whatever it needs to do to actually action your change. And there we go. We can see that the edits are happening live. It's going through a bunch of different versions. So it's making some edits and probably testing in between. So we can see we're on actually V5 right now when our first iteration was just V1. Okay, awesome. The changes are done. So on the left side, we've got the difficulty levels. We have easy mode, makes random moves 70% of the time, occasionally captures pieces. We have medium mode, picks from 30% evaluated moves, and then hard mode, which I don't even know if I can probably beat the medium mode, to be honest, but this is really cool. We have the updated features. If I drag this across, the actual HTML looks a little bit different. Now we have some difficulty settings. So if I just leave it on easy, I press this. Let's see what the move is. Okay, there's a move over there. I press this again. Nice. Let me actually go across to hard now, go into new game. And let's see if I purposely just expose my best pieces, if the difficulty would just take advantage of that. So I'm really exposing my king and queen here. Kind of surprised. Oh, there we go. So this is alarming for me. I should probably move out of the way and do something. So yeah, that was very aggressive. That immediately came in. I think it captured my, my bishop. So that actually just shows that the hard difficulty is very aggressive. So the backend logic that Claude used actually worked. All right, and for another example, we're going to go for something that's a little bit more UI heavy. So we're not coding up a game. We're just going to be coding up a simple task manager where I can add new tasks and view a list of pending tasks. So just like before, we're going to go into split screen. We're going to see the left-hand side is just where Claude is thinking. We're going to be explain the features and the steps on how to use the actual app. And then the right-hand side is just the HTML code, which is going to be the app, and we're going to be able to display it in just a second. All right, awesome. So now on the left-hand side, we have the key features. We can add tasks, view pending tasks, do some basic task management, even complete tasks, and then this is how to use it. So it looks pretty easy to use. What needs to be done today? Create a YouTube video. Let's add this task. Let's say subscribe to Bart's channel. Add task. Okay, pretty cool. And then I can just, what does this do? Does it, okay, and it completes the task and it shows us the completed task. So that's pretty neat. So now we actually have this task manager. And then from here, just like before, you can go back into here and you can just edit this app to your heart's content. And you can ask it to create a new design, use different colors. You can ask it to do potentially a hero image in the back of someone with a clock or a pencil and a notebook to kind of make this even more like a task manager tool. But hopefully from these two examples, you can start to see that you can create a variety of different things within Claude It's super easy to test out concepts. It's very easy to get into as a beginner. And then you have all the code accessible to you. Another cool hack is that you can actually just ask Claude to run you through the code and say, hey, I'm a beginner. Can you please explain all the different bits and pieces of the code? And then you can actually turn this into a bit of an educational process as well. Okay, so now that we've looked at how to get our hands dirty with using Claude for vibe coding, the final thing for us to do is to look at Replit. So Replit is just another interface that you have to get familiar with. It looks a little bit intimidating now because you might not be used to what all the options and the buttons are. In this video, I'm going to give you a quick run through about how you can actually just create a HTML page and how you can post that HTML page online so other people can use it. Now, I think after watching this video, if you are interested in learning a little bit more about vibe coding, just drop a comment below that you want to see another follow-up tutorial. I can go a little bit deeper and spend some more time on tools like Replit or even Cursor, which is another coding tool that I use. And I can run you through different projects, how to deploy things with a little bit more detail. But yeah, in this video, I'm going to keep things relatively high level, just so you can kind of get a feel for what's going on. And so you have some way of progressing out of Claude and into something a bit more production ready. Now, Replit is super cool because it lets you build apps in two ways. The first is you can actually interact with an AI agent. You can tell it exactly what you want and it'll query you, it'll quiz you, it'll build a project plan, it'll build out exactly what you want in a bit more of a concierge way. So imagine you're speaking with Claude and it's plugged directly into here and it's fully untapped. It can build out absolutely anything that you want and it fully caters to you. It communicates with you in plain English the entire way. So that's super exciting. Lots of people are building out apps using the Replit agent. But for our video, I'm going to keep things a little bit more bare bones. And I'm just going to show you a more basic way of how you can code something up. So I'm going to go up to here and click on Create App. And now I can just create with the Replit agent, which is that agent that I told you about. But I'm not going to use this. I actually want to fly through a process. I'm going to go to Choose a Template. And from here, all we need to do is go down to HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. And this is going to be enough for us to build HTML pages, so websites for the internet that we can deploy. So we can build things like that document processor or that task manager, and then put it online and then share it with all of our family and friends. So now that I have the template chosen, I'm going to go across to Create App. So over here, we have a basic starting template. Now, if I just go up to the top here and I click Run, this is going to preview what the current template shows. And the current template just shows a white screen that says Hello World. And that template is this HTML page over here. So really, we're at a blank canvas. And this left-hand side, you can just imagine, is the exact same left-hand side over here that we had with Claude. And then this right-hand side is the exact same right-hand side we had with Claude. So if I just click onto this code button, I can see all the code. And if I click on this icon button, I can actually preview the code. And that's the same thing over here. I can click on the index.html and I can see all the code. And then since I've already clicked run before, I can just click on this preview button and this previews the code for me. Now, if I just press stop on this, it's going to stop that preview and it's going to close down this preview. So I actually can't see anything anymore. But just to bring it back up, I can just click run one more time. And then here we are, we have the app again. So I'm actually going to use the same prompt that I used at the start of the video to create that document processing agent, which is code me up a simple web page that'll take a file, it'll use OCR, which is that text extraction system, and then it'll output a flat text that you can then either copy and paste into a different tool, or you can actually just reprompt and get it to plug into some kind of database like Airtable or Supabase or even Google Sheets if you want to use it. So let's go ahead and click run. And just like we had in Claude, we have on the left-hand side, we have the assistant thinking about what's going on. We're actually using Claude for Sonnet, which is the same model we were using just earlier in Claude. So we see the process in action on the left-hand side over here. Claude's actually creating the index.html. Now, like I mentioned, when we're in Claude, this actual chat interface over here, it does have some limitations in how we build apps. But when we're in something like Replit, you can see that it's built out these three files. And typically when you're coding, when you're building out apps, best practice is to build out separate files because you can actually manage the JavaScript and all the functionality in this file. The style.css, this is where all the styling is, the size of the fonts, the color on the page, the different hovering when you're clicking over text. And then over here is the index.html, which is that core infrastructure of how the web page looks. Now, in order for us to apply this and actually get it onto our canvas and start building our app, this is how easy it is. We just have to go over here and click apply all, click OK. And all those changes, so all the three different files that were just written for us on the left-hand side are going to be automatically applied to the right-hand side. So all the files will be created. And then look at this. This is the exact same app we had before. And if we just go to choose a file, so I've just chosen the exact same invoice. Let me zoom in. We have electro, the line items and the totals. Zooming back out, I have the button over here, extract text. And let's see, there we go. We're loading some kind of train data into here. The process was completed in like less than a second. And then if I just extend this out, we have a little text box that looks at all the extracted text. So actually we can even just copy this and then paste it somewhere else. But let's say now I actually want to make this look a little bit nicer because it does look pretty bare bones right now. I'm just gonna say, can you please make this look a little bit nicer and more modern? And typically Claude is, well, from my experience, the best model at creating beautiful designs. If you're creating dashboards or some kind of like visual interfaces like this HTML page, Claude is exceptional at creating something that, you know, looks nice, looks neat, looks modern, or whatever description you want to give it. Claude's the best model at doing this. All right, awesome. So now on the left-hand side, let's see what's happened. So I'll help you modernize the design for your OCR web page. And we can see that the only file that was edited was the style.css. And a style.css is the file that contains all the styling for the page. And if we scroll up, you can already start to see how these coding apps work. The core infrastructure, the actual skeleton of the web page is exactly the same. The script, so the functionality of taking this file, then extracting the text is exactly the same. All we needed to change was this one file. So you can see why we start to isolate these files because it's just more efficient for us in the future when we're making edits. So scrolling back down to where the edits were, we have some explanation of visual enhancements, the different fonts that we were using, the layout's a little bit different, the interactive elements are a little bit different. And just like before, we have this apply button. I'm going to click apply. And now the style.css, so all those different design changes that were made are going to be automatically applied to the right-hand side, so to the styles file. And we've automatically been reset. And here we have a updated design for our PNG OCR text reader. So this is the document app. So I've just uploaded the file one more time. So now it looks pretty cool. Like now when I hover over the file actually looks like it's floating and it moves around. This button does a little bit of hovering. Okay, this also changes a color. That changes the color a little bit. So this is pretty cool. Like all these different elements, I can interact with them. Extract text. Let's see how this loading bar looks now. Okay, so that automatically did it. So that was actually even faster than before. And then we have the copy text button that changes as well. So let's say at this stage, I'm pretty happy with this and I want to post it online. So like, let's say my team can use it. Well, to do that, all I need to do is go across to deploy. And what I recommend you do is just use the recommended deployment. So I'm just going to go set up your deployment. This is the URL that we're going to be using. You can actually deploy it on this primary URL, and then later on you can point it to a different URL. So if you have like bartsdocuments.com, you can have an extension that says bartsdocuments.com/OCR. And then you can point this URL into that URL. And then you can have this page actually part of your actual website. But let's assume this is all good for us. I'm going to go deploy again. And now Replit literally deployed that app for me within a matter of seconds. And if I click this preview button, there we go. This URL is now accessible by anyone on the internet. You can give this to your family and friends that are overseas in a completely different city, so far away from you, and you can give this to them and they'll be able to access exactly what you have here. So I've just uploaded the file again. Let's go to extract text. And now the functionality, let's make sure that it works when it's deployed live on the internet. Awesome, it works. I can scroll through, I have all the information, I can copy the text. So this is how easy it is to actually get into vibe coding and to build out these systems and processes using something like Replit. But what's even more exciting is the deeper you get into this, there's actually a lot more that you can do. We just built a single page, single function web page, but the real fun comes from when you're building out these apps that have the ability to have databases, they can have different users, they can have authentication, different login methods. So if you're a business owner and you want to build a set of tools for your own workplace, you can see how easy it is to actually build something using Replit, deploy it online, and then you can actually share these tools with your different team members so they can work faster and more efficiently. Now, if you want to see a follow-up video of how to introduce some kind of login method or how to do some kind of database and build something more sophisticated out, drop a comment below and I'll create a follow-up on how to vibe code if you want to be intermediate. All right, thanks for watching, guys, and I hope you enjoy vibe coding your new apps. See ya.